And here we are on the rooftop in the middle of Extra Space's solar array. This array is comprised of 288 total solar panels, totaling about 120 kilowatts DC system size. These solar panels are monofacial, meaning they have one face that collects energy from the sun. There are options to install bifacial panels as well. If you install bifacial panels and have a system like this, you can actually roll in the cost of a new roof as long as it is a white and reflective material. The ITC, or investment tax credit, counts that new roof as a part of your solar array and will cover 26% of the cost of that roofing material. These solar panels, again, are monofacial, or one face collecting the energy, and this system is also a ballasted system. As a business owner, you may be really concerned about your roof condition or your roof health over the long term while you have an array like this on your roof. A ballasted system like this is really beneficial because we don't actually have to have any roof penetrations. So your TPO or EPDM or other roofing material is intact as we install a system like this. To ensure that your roofing materials stay in good shape long term, we also include slip sheets like this beneath each foot of the racking, and that helps to ensure that any movement over time, especially here in Illinois as we go through the freeze and thaw seasons, we make sure that those slip sheets are in place so that as that movement happens, it will not affect the condition of your roof. This whole array is facing straight to the south, and this roof is actually perfectly aligned so that all of the panels can face to the south. In the northern hemisphere here, that is the ideal orientation so that we're maximizing the output of energy from the sun. We partner with Extra Space Storage to ensure that this array and about 30 others across the Chicago metro area are functioning at a very high and very healthy and safe level throughout their whole system life. In order to complete really effective O&M, or operations and maintenance, we ensure that every site like this has 2 seasonal dispatches each year. One will occur in the spring, where we will do a major mechanical inspection and ensure that every connector, every panel, every piece of the system is operating to its optimal capacity. In the fall, we will complete a secondary preventative inspection, and this inspection will be a bit more on the visual side, as well as double checking those connectors and potentially following up on any corrective items that were identified in the spring season. There are other times as well where we might want to dispatch for something that's corrective or unplanned maintenance. For instance, today we actually have a contractor on site who is completing a panel washing across the whole system. They are washing all 288 panels to ensure that all of that buildup from pollen from this spring is cleaned off, and so that these panels can be functioning really effectively and really optimally throughout the remaining summer months. Here we are in the electrical room, where all those moving electrons from the array up on the roof come down to these inverters. Each of these inverters is 33.3 kilowatts DC. They take all of the electrons moving from those conductors in these pipes coming from the roof, and these 3 pieces of equipment are then converting that energy into AC, or alternating current. Here we're combining so that instead of 3 different separate runs of conductors, we now have just one run that moves up to our next piece of equipment. That single run of conductors then comes up and connects to the Also Energy DAS hardware. This hardware helps to collect all of the data for the generation of the system. It then pushes that data to a cloud-based platform where we can watch the data and watch the health of the system remotely. That helps us from an operations and maintenance perspective so that we can help to ensure all of these inverters are running at all times and in a healthy way. And if there is ever an issue on site, we can see that right away from the data pushing from this box here, and we can help to ensure we dispatch a local provider. Also coming out of this AC combiner box, we're moving over here to a production meter. This is a revenue grade production meter, and this is tracking all of that final AC electrical generation and production for the system. And this is helping to ensure that we report all of this electrical energy production to the Illinois Adjustable Block Program, or ABP. The ABP is a REC program, Renewable Energy Credits, And this box here is making sure that we are tracking all of that production to a really high degree of certainty, and so that we can report it to that program. From this revenue grade meter, the conductors finally are moving up overhead and coming here into this electrical room. In the electrical room, those conductors are landing on a single breaker. So just like breakers in your home panel, the solar is all pushing that electricity generation into one breaker. From there, it feeds all of the electrical loads of this building. If there's extra generation during a nice sunny day here in Illinois, then that extra generation will actually push back to the grid and it may power the neighboring buildings here. And if there's less generation than what the building uses, then we pull some electricity from the grid. Now that we've seen how that electricity generation moves from the array up on the roof down into the electrical room and ultimately to feed this building, now let's talk about the benefits that Extra Space Storage sees by having a solar array on site. Extra Space was able to enroll in 3 different really main components that help to make solar a really attractive option for them. The first component is the federal ITC, or investment tax credit. That is a 26% tax benefit that Extra Space saw as a client in the year after installing their solar array. The second component of savings on site here is Extra Space being enrolled in the Illinois Adjustable Block Program. The ABP is a REC program, or Renewable Energy Credit program. That means that every megawatt hour of energy produced on site here is then credited back as a monetary gain for the client. That helps to offset more of their on-site facilities costs. Finally, of course, lowering the cost of operating and for electricity in this building is a really key component of the solar array here. The solar array is sized to offset about 80% of the usage on site, but depending on the weather and the actual usage day to day, that can vary and be up to 100%. Thank you for joining me today on this virtual site tour here at Extra Space Storage in Chicago, Illinois. I hope you really enjoyed seeing this system up close and that we maybe learned a thing or two along the way as well.